All right, so working on my V8 S10 here, and there's one major thing that always goes wrong with these things is the header situation on them. And they run like a 3-bolt style flange like your normal headers are, but they're kind of a pain in the butt to get to. Like, they're always right up against the firewall and everything, but we're gonna solve that. Nothing's worse than having a little truck with a lot of power. Sounds pretty good, and the damn thing just sounds like it's got a header gasket that's leaking like hell. So we're gonna fix that. But the way we do that is, these are just standard Hedman headers. They are 1.5" primary and they're 2.5" collectors. So what I did and what I like to do is take you a good old piece of pipe and put on the end of it, make it kind of like a long tube. Well, you do that, then you gotta have something to hook it to. Well, a lot of room is taken up down in there with everything else and running like a stock fuel tank, and you gotta move both pipes to the passenger side, so it's where a V-band comes into play. So we're gonna run this tube down in there and put it up there with a V-band, and then run our exhaust all the way out. Hopefully we don't leak anymore. Now, if you're running just like a standard small block Chevy, the oil filter is a big deal down in there, and where it goes down in there and where it runs. I've already got this side already kind of put together, and it's got the V-band welded on the end, but you got your oil filter in the frame, and it's pretty tight getting down in there. Now this other side, you have a lot more room to kind of fish your pipe down in there. So you can kind of slide it forward and then slide it back, and it doesn't have to go in at such like a steep angle, which is where your steering shaft comes in. So on this side, you kind of have to just force it down with the firewall, just kind of go straight down. Now on your passenger side, you can kind of slide it back. So you can leave a little bit more pipe on the end of it, make it to where it 90s straight with the frame, and you don't have to have too many complicated angles running to your V-band. But that's what I like to do, and I'm going to try and show you guys the V-band process and all that. I mean, I know everyone's seen it a couple times, but I've never really seen anybody talk about this stuff on these S10s. You know, I mean, they're tight, especially if you still have like the heater box and all that stuff for AC and stuff. So it gets a little tight. No one likes sticking their hands through the deal, so we're going to see if we can't figure something out. Okay, so I got my header put back in. This is on the passenger side, and there you can see the flange for the V-band. Now it's just setting up in there, it's not welded or anything, but you can see how much better and how little room you have up in there to try and get those 3-bolt flanges to work. Now you can get them to work. You can beat the shit out of the firewall and all kinds of stuff, and I mean, you can get them to work, but when you have the motor set back pretty far to make room for any sort of accessories and like any sort of good radiator that'll keep these things cool, it's real hard to get them to connect. The best way you can do it is just have the long tube basically like sticking down off of your collector, like what would be your factory collector, and then hook them up down here. It's a lot easier. You know, you can still maybe get your transmission out the way it is right now. If not, it's just pulling the headers. It's part of having one of these damn trucks. It's just, you'll fight them till the end to do anything on them, but they are fun. But yeah, the V-bands are definitely the way to go. I have the V-band put in on the other side, and it's welded up and everything. Now it does hit the frame a little bit, like the clamp does, but I'm not too worried about it. Any exhaust on any of these is going to be close to the frame. It's going to be hitting one way or another. Like, I mean, you can't really avoid it. Motor torques up in these things, yeah, it's going to rub something or another. But yeah, this is the V-band on this side. Alright, so as you can see, got the V-band on there. It's on the end of the header. Don't mind the shitty weld, I just really don't want it to leak, because that was the whole point of this, was, well, it was fucking leaking. So yeah, got the V-band welded on there, and I got the other side of the pipe all mocked up. There's the exhaust that I used to have on it, and actually right where this comes out, I set it and clocked it to where it should just hook right up to that. Put everything up in there, put the V-bands together. It looked like it should work, just got to work on some hangers for the rear. I already got the driver's side done, it's bolted up in there, but I'm gonna go ahead and weld this out, and hopefully it all fits. If not, we'll figure something out. I mean, you know, that's the name of the game. But yeah, we'll weld it out and see what happens. Oh, and I know a lot of people like to hook the V-bands together and everything. Well, I'm MIG welding everything, I don't have a TIG welder, so MIG welding everything. Just gonna try and control my heat, but it should work out all right. If it warps a little bit, just nothing a little RTV can't fix. So I'm gonna get these welded up and see what happens. Woo! Oh yeah, that looks good. Yeah. I'm not the best welder, but it'll hold. It'll hold for sure. All right, so here's the exhaust pipe. Going back to my tiny ass muffler, and yeah, got the V-band all welded on. Got some good old penetration on there, laid some good fat beads. All right, so I'm gonna try and show you guys how easy these things are to put in, even with the long tube on it. As you can see, it's got the V-band on it. It's full header. These are S10 Shorties, and yeah, even with that long pipe on there, you can still push it right down in there, no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all the bolts started on this thing, and get her all tightened up, and I'm gonna show you guys what I do to my gaskets to hopefully keep them from leaking. They are aluminum heads. Hedman doesn't have the best, you know, reputation for having flat surfaces on their headers, so we're gonna try and solve that with some stuff. And I'm even gonna reuse old gaskets, and hopefully it'll seal. It should. So all right, so as you can kind of see, I got all of my header bolts in, and I'm getting ready to put my gaskets in. So I'm gonna grab one of my gaskets here real quick. It is used, you can tell, but gonna kind of wipe off some of this carbon and stuff off of it, you know, get it somewhat clean. It's not really gonna matter, but okay. So I got my gasket, and here's the stuff that I like to use. It's by Permatex. It's called Ultra Copper, and it is a gasket maker for exhaust. Now, if you've ever had a good set of headers like Sanderson, Schoenfield, some of those, they use a lot in like dirt track racing. That's where I learned this from. But a lot of like the really good headers that have really flat surfaces to go like to mount, they don't even run an exhaust gasket. They just run this stuff. So basically what they do is they just lay a bead on the exhaust flange, and then you just bolt it up. Well, mine aren't that good. They need gaskets, they need something to fill it in there, but I like putting this stuff just on the gasket itself, like on both sides, and I think it helps seal sealed a little bit, so I like taking a little bit of it. That's a little messy, but I take a little bit of it and I put it between my fingers, kind of smush it around, and then I just go on either side of the gasket where it's going to mount, and I just rub that around. Okay, so let's kind of rub that around, put a good layer of it on there, and this will help seal it. It's kind of like red RTV, but it's just a little bit different stuff. It's actually meant for exhaust. So I like getting a good bead everywhere. Now these are aluminum heads. They're super flat. I'm really impressed with them. They have good surfaces on the head. Now the header side, not so much. So like the rounded off side with the little dimples, it's the side you want to put towards your headers. It's not going to be as flat. See, this other side's super flat. That'll go towards your aluminum or your cast iron, whatever kind of head you have. But I like getting a good kind of thicker bead on this outside right here, like that. So just kind of make sure it's coating everything. Now I don't coat the tabs, it's not important, that's not where it's sealing. I just coat around here. Okay, so I put all my header bolts in, leave them loose, and then I just drop this gasket down in there. So you want to make sure it gets all the way down there, gets down onto the bolts where it's supposed to be, and that's it. That's how I do my header gaskets when I put my headers in. They don't leak, so it's something to consider the next time you're putting a set of headers on, is to go spend the $8, $9, whatever this Permatex stuff is, and use it. Or just, you know, regular old RTV or whatever, just the red stuff, whatever the high temp is. So, got my header all bolted up, got her snugged up, and now I'm going to get underneath there and try and set this camera up and see if I can't get the exhaust to hang. I'm just going to have the back of it hanging off of the jack stand so I can kind of move it around, get it hooked up to the V-band, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do to hang it. There's a couple spots back there on the bed. It's a bed sport, so it shouldn't be too bad to hang it. I already got the passenger side hanging, which they all cross over, so I might just weld something onto it to get it to hang, but we'll see. I'll just have to get it up underneath there and see what happens. So. But as you can see, it's not the best fit, but it should tighten up, I think. We'll just have to give her a go and see. Right. If you want to find me a little bit, this is the first time this V-band's been on here, so it was like the other side, it was all a little tight. So take my ratchet wrench and snug her up and see what happens. Yeah, okay, there she is. And boy, she is a tight dude, I'll tell you that. Pretty happy with it, but I'll show you the other side here. I'll flip it around. And yeah, so there's the other side. Let me roll forward here. There's the V-band on that side. Now it's kind of hitting the frame right there where the control arm bolts on, but you know, it is what it is. There you can see up in there going to my collector. Now I got a slip joint running like that. Then it comes over. It comes underneath my tail shaft of my transmission and in between the cross member and the floor. So not easy to do on your back, figuring all that out. But yeah, so this one runs over here. They both run back here. I did have just one hanger but I'm gonna do a little moving around back here and see what I can get done. But yeah, this is what you got to do to run the exhaust with a stock gas tank. So you got to do what you got to do. All right, so got everything together, and I got the exhaust up, and we're gonna fire it up and see what she sounds like. Hopefully there's no leaks. Not bad. Pretty quiet. So, no leaks, no rattles. I'm happy with it. I don't know. Seems pretty good to me. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like it did everything I wanted it to. Didn't seem like the headers were leaking. Seemed like she was firing on all 8, and yeah, didn't sound bad.